It's 95 and 96.1 The Rock. We're honored to welcome Whitney Cummings onto the program. Comedian, actor, writer. How you doing today?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Doing well. You're here to talk about your new book, I'm Fine and Other Lies. So let's talk about that right now. In this book, you share stories that you talk about on stage in your stand-up routine, as well as stories that you don't normally share. Kind of what's the process of choosing what stories to include in the book?
You know, it's interesting. I sort of, started doing these podcasts, like Joe Rogan's show or Tim Ferriss or whatever, and comedians are not that funny during the day. We're actually sort of weird and awkward.
Mm-hmm.
We're like werewolves. We come out at night. And and I stumbled upon talking about a lot of the emotional struggles I was having and, my issues with codependence and body dysmorphia and eating stuff and dating narcissists. And people started coming up to me in airports, like with tears in their eyes. Maybe it was just from the Auntie Anne's pretzel they just ate, but they were like, thank you so much for sharing your struggle about this and this. I had no idea. I relate so much. I'm going to get help for this. And I realized, like, oh my God, like people actually want to hear me talk about my weaknesses and flaws and vulnerabilities as a comedian. You think people only want to hear you be funny and make them laugh, and that's it. It just didn't occur to me that was valuable to anyone. So I decided, okay, I guess I'm going to talk about this stuff. And then I tried to talk about it on stage, and it was just too hard. It was too scary, and making eye contact with a bunch of strangers while you're talking about your deepest, darkest secrets, it just was like way too intense. So I was like, I think this might make more sense as a book because I can be more honest and forthright without having to make a joke every 15, 20 seconds because some of this stuff isn't LOL funny. I made a lot of it funny and the stories are funny and stuff, but it felt like something that made more sense as a book, which is super scary and super hard to write. Writing books is a nightmare. I didn't realize it was so difficult. Thank God for Adderall. But yeah, so, I'm really, really proud of how it came out, but I'm very glad that I don't have to make eye contact with the reader while they're reading it.
Absolutely.
Wow. No, I really got to commend you on that because these are topics that people really don't want to hear in real life. Like half the time, if it's a tough topic, people just want to glaze over and switch to the good stuff. So why do you feel it is important to talk about these situations, and how does presenting it in a comedic fashion do for you in the book as compared, because as you just said, it doesn't work that well in your stand-up?
It's just not, I think that when someone comes with a certain expectation of a show, you give it to them. People pay a lot of money for tickets. If they want to come laugh for 2 hours, that's what I'm going to deliver to them. I think for me, all this other, stuff, I look around at so many people in my life who are dealing with, kids who have struggled with addiction and depression and codependence and eating issues and body dysmorphia and all this stuff. And I'm just sort of like, no one's talking about any of this stuff. We're sitting around talking about, frivolous stuff. And, for me, I guess I just kind of wanted to write the book that I wish had been available to me when I was 20, because around like 28 years old, I was like, okay, I'm going to in the next couple of years have to stop being crazy because crazy is not cute in your 30s. You can get away with it in your 20s. But in your 30s, you can't really get away with it. And then so I was like, okay, I'm going to stop being a nut. I'm going to stop dating these type of people. I'm going to stop, having weird crash diet, body madness stuff. And I couldn't stop myself. And I was like, uh-oh, there might be more going on here than me just being like a crazy girl in my 20s. And then I started sort of going to get help and learning about neurology and codependence and addiction and all this stuff. And it was so empowering to me. And it was such a relief. And I was just like, how is this not taught in schools? How do people, I see so many people around me suffering. And I think also if I want to read a book about this kind of stuff, I want it to be funny because a lot of it's heavy, So I feel like I did a pretty good job of balancing the pathology and the lightness of it so that it's not, depressing or anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, honestly, I mean, you can always bring the crazy back around when you're a cute old lady because that's totally understandable.
Yeah, that's when it's cool again. Yeah.
So you got to take a break and come back. All right. So do you think people process real life situations that may be hard to address better when they can laugh about it?
I think so. I mean, for me, like, I personally can. I was reading all these, like, self-help books and all these psychology books that were just written by, very brilliant professors and scientists, and I could only get through, like, one page at a time. And it was so boring and it was so tedious. And so for me, I wanted to write, like, a funny self-help book, I don't think we should have to pick between having fun and learning. I think we should be able to have sort of both. So I feel like I was kind of uniquely qualified to do both, and that it was sort of, something I had to do.
Awesome. So kind of turning it to the stand-up aspect of your life, over the years, a lot of comedians feel that they need to apologize for certain material or comments or maybe heavy issues that they address, whether it's in a book, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on stage. How do you feel about all the apologizing for this? And, really, should people get upset about this kind of stuff?
That's a really good question. I think it's a case-by-case basis, and it's such a testament to how incredibly PC our culture has gotten, it's really wild. You'd think that we'd get more and more desensitized, but it seems like everyone's getting more and more sensitive. Comedians, I don't think anyone is trying to hurt anyone's feelings. I think what offends you is really a valuable information. It's a great way to learn a lot about yourself based on what offends you, but this culture of, like, everybody being offended all the time, like, we live in a country where we do have a First Amendment, and that's what makes our country amazing. Anybody can say whatever they want. And, if you're a Nazi, I think you should apologize. But if you're a comedian who makes a joke about race, it's mirroring what's actually happening, or if it's provocative or thought-provoking, like, I think that's important. I think it's important that we are challenged, and comedians seem to be the only people left that are really doing that. It's like, I look at who's on television right now, and I would watch John Oliver, Stephen Colbert, Trevor Noah, Samantha Bee before I would watch, like, the news. I trust them more, and I think they're more committed sort of to the truth. So it's like, the truth can be scary sometimes, but comedians talking about the truth, if that's offensive, then I think we have some major, like, work to do, and we have to stop coddling people. If someone does, like, a offensive joke about, I don't want to say anything that's too triggering, but, if something's gratuitous, I don't even know. I don't even want your apology because I don't want to have to think about the terrible joke again. Just write a better joke. I think that comedians' only job is to apologize if a joke isn't funny, because it is our job to be funny. If we're not funny, that's when you apologize. But if we're offensive, like, that's part of what we do.
Absolutely. Now, I know your time is limited here, so where can they pick up a copy of the book? And then you also have a movie directorial debut coming out, The Female Brain. Do you have any information about that as well?
I do, but I have no idea when that comes out sometime next year. I'm going to call you guys again next year, and we'll talk about that.
Sounds good.
Have more information.
Oh, that's great.
My book is called I'm Fine and Other Lies. It comes out October 3rd, available everywhere. I've never said that before. And then it's going to be on pre-order. You can just go on Amazon and pre-order it.
Excellent. Well, Whitney, we appreciate your time, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You guys are so awesome.
Thank you.